Hello, everyone. Welcome. You were just watching our show Metamorphosis that we were supposed to be performing at Carnegie Hall tonight. We're going to do a live Q&A here in just a second, but first we wanted to do a quick toast to celebrate. So, Sean, would you do the honors?
Do my best here.
All right. And not a camera or a tam-tam broken. Nice. So as we mentioned, thank you very much, Sean. Tonight would have been our Carnegie Hall debut with Movement Art Is. The show you saw tonight all featured choreography by MAI co-founders Lil Buck and John Boogz, performed by the amazing Myles and Quentin Robinson. We're very glad they were able to join us, Ron and Quentin, in the chat tonight too. And thanks to all of you for your questions throughout the show. We all ready for a toast? Do a quick toast. All right, to the Carnegie Hall concert that wasn't, but someday will be. Oh, I'm gonna look over there. To the concert that someday will be, and to the new year, may it be filled with all the great things that last year was not. Hear, hear. Cheers. And thanks to you all for being here, and to everyone who's been supporting us throughout the last 10 months of this pandemic, helping us to keep things going. We're going to do a quick maybe tour of some of the instruments we use in the show, some of the more interesting ones, because a lot of folks were asking questions about some of those instruments. But first, I just wanted to mention real quick, if you enjoyed tonight's show and want to help us keep doing free live stream performances and other digital programming, you can go to thirdcoastpercussion.com/donate. Think about what you might have paid for a ticket to see a show like this, and help us keep this going. So, okay, I'm going to go over to camera 2 here, and we're going to look at some of the cool instruments. Sean's going to give us a quick tour of some of the instruments that were used on the program. So maybe should we start? Sure, right there. That's an old favorite. This is the melodica. It's a beautiful instrument. It's a nice way for us to be able to do a sort of sustained, pitched instrument. Thank you, Sean. Very good. So we use that in the arrangement of Philip Glass's Amazon River, as well as some of the other parts of the program. So a beautiful instrument. All the way on the left end of the table there, we've got some champagne, but also we've got the water bowl. Let's go with the water bowl. Yeah, so this was used just in the very last piece. This was some of the music by Jlin. This is just a mixing bowl full of water. And the cool thing is, it has a pitch, but because the water's in it, as you hit the bowl, the water sort of sloshes around and gives this cool wobbling sound to the pitch. So that's a cool sound. Peter had a few of those that he was using in the last piece, Derivative by Jlin. We've also got these little bird calls. Sean's the master of the nightingale. That's the nightingale, right?
Yes, it is.
Good. So that's a fun one. We've got some of this metal flat bar, a variety of different kind of construction materials we use in different parts of the program. So we've got that flat bar, different sizes, obviously, different pitches, and depending how they're mounted or suspended or whatever, they can be more resonant or drier. I'll use those a lot in Tyondai Braxton's piece, Sunny X, in the middle of the program. We also used some of these wood slats, similar sort of concept, but just different size pieces of wood. This one is Purple Heart, but we used red oak, big stacks of red oak for Ty's piece as well. That's another cool sound. And if we've got a bunch of them laid in a row, we can sort of, put some pitch contour into things. We've got the desk bells, which are a nice little touch. Those are sort of made as an educational tool, but they come in different pitches as well. So we've sort of sprinkled those in different places. Sean's playing those a lot in some of the Philip Glass arrangements that we made. The mbira. right there is a beautiful instrument from Zimbabwe. We've been studying this instrument together as a group for about the last 5 or 6 years. We've worked with some fantastic teachers from Zimbabwe. Musakiwa Chingodza is one who's been kind of our primary teacher, and Patience Mujeri, someone we also had the good fortune to work with. And a lot of us had some training and some interest in this instrument even before then. But I'll use this in some of Jlin's music as well. Nice. We've got these metal pipes, conduit. This is aluminum or steel? Steel conduit, thanks. And again, just cutting it to different lengths gets us different pitches. So a lot of possibilities there. And then we also had a variety of different kinds of gongs that we used in the show. So someone was asking really specifically about this little one here. We've got, I think, about 4 or 5 of those that we got when we were in Taiwan almost 2 years ago. We were invited to come for the Taiwan International Percussion Convention, which is an amazing festival in Taipei, and some very nice hosts there took us to a musical instrument shop. We were able to find some traditional instruments and really loved these little gongs. We've also got one of these Chinese opera gongs, which has a nice sort of pitch bend built into it, as well as a Thai gong, which we've got in a bunch of different pitches. We use those again in some of Jlin's music and in Tyondai Braxton's piece too. Cool. And then we've also got this. This is a Korean gong. Sean, is that something that you got or Peter?
No.
It's okay. It's someone's, but it's a very another cool instrument. So nice sort of variety of these. Cool. So that's just a small sampling. Some of the maybe more interesting instruments that you may not have seen in some of our other shows. Obviously, on top of that, we've got marimba and vibraphone and other things that featured prominently in the show. I'm going to pass it to one of my colleagues in just a minute, but first I'm going to answer 2 questions from my loved ones because they were quick with the questions. Ben in Iowa asked if it's hard to play in the dark. And I would say there's, moments in the show where it goes to complete dark and moments where the light is very dim. And that is actually, we recorded this video at the Performing Arts Center in La Jolla, California in November. And we were so thrilled to actually have the opportunity to be on a stage in a real Performing Arts Center. And Joe Burke was the lighting designer, traveled with us to sort of put the finishing touches on the lighting for this program. We had developed the whole show, putting together dance, movement, lighting, stage direction, which was led by Leslie Buxbaum Danzig, an amazing Chicago-based director. And we could plan all those things really in detail separately, but to actually be on stage where we can sort of figure out those final details. And so actually having the time together on stage to test out lighting and have a moment to say like, hey, Joe, can there be just a little more light there? I can't play, and knowing like where's the exact moment when it can go dark, how dark can it get when it fades down, things like that. We can sort of negotiate it. And we've got some little stand lights that clip onto the music stands to help us in the moments where it gets really dark. But being able to see the instruments, obviously, really important too. So having that time together at the Conrad Prebys Performing Arts Center in La Jolla was really invaluable. And Riley in Chicago asked, was it weird to play without an audience? And yeah, it is. It's something that's one of the weird things to get used to for all of us, I think, over the last 10 months. We've enjoyed being able to do these live streams. It's great to know there are people watching. But it is so much different. We miss being able to have that sort of immediate feedback of people who are right in front of us. And there were a handful of donors in the hall when we got to do that performance in La Jolla in November. So that was nice, but it still felt a little strange. But I got to say, it felt amazing for all of us just to be on a stage again. We're very grateful we've been able to do these a bunch of live stream performances from our studio here, and we love it here. We're very fortunate to have this space of our own. But to be on stage with lighting and the acoustics of the space and all of that was something really special. So I think to continue the questions, I'm going to pass it off to, who's up next? Peter? Great. All right. Take it away, Peter.
Hey everyone, thanks so much again for coming to our show tonight and for coming to this Q&A session. As always, it's really an honor and a pleasure to be able to present these concerts to you. And before I answer a couple more questions, I did also want to mention again that if you enjoyed the concert that you saw tonight, and if you enjoy this Q&A session that you're seeing tonight, we ask that you consider what it would have cost you to go to a concert on this Friday evening, and consider making a donation in that amount to us. And you can do that at thirdcoastpercussion.com/donate, which you've been seeing some captions on the screens throughout this evening. So we really appreciate your support, and your support helps us bring new art to the world. So I'm going to answer a couple more questions here, and let's see. Oh, this one's good. I just took my mask off to answer these questions, but Pat actually asks, how much more difficult is it to perform with masks on? Well, the first thing I would say about that, Pat, and I'm sure anybody else who wears glasses can feel this with me, is that the fog that you get on your lenses is a big bummer. I would have to say that's the biggest bummer of the mask wearing situation right now. It's not really uncomfortable. We've been wearing masks for a very long time at this point, so I'm used to breathing. I exercise. I go for runs wearing a mask, so I'm used to having a lot of sort of physical exertion going on while I'm wearing a mask. But yeah, definitely maybe one of the bigger challenges is just making sure that what mask that you're using is fitted well, so that it doesn't create a bunch of fog on my glasses, because when I'm trying to read this really crazy music, like the type that Tyondai Braxton wrote for us, and I'm trying to read those little notes on the page, it's really important that I can see them. So actually, this mask that I have, I'm going to give a shout out to my wife Jana, who made this mask for me, and it has this sort of special fold on it that keeps it tightly around my nose. So anyway, that's sort of a long answer for a very short question. Let me jump into another one here. Jane asks, will the dancers tour with you? Great question, Jane. Thanks for your question. And the answer is yes, absolutely. And so this first performance that we did, which we mentioned at the very beginning of the show, this was pre-recorded. We actually did this as a live stream performance in San Diego, or La Jolla, right outside of San Diego. That was last November, and the dancers did travel to do that first premiere. And of course, the dancers would have traveled to Carnegie Hall to do our Carnegie Hall debut with us. And in the future performances of this program, yes, definitely 2 dancers are going to be traveling with us, and they're sort of that's just sort of built into the program. And it's an amazing experience sharing the stage with those 2 dancers and the energy that they bring to the stage. And I think Rob actually had a question a couple minutes ago about, was it weird to play without an audience? And I actually just wanted to jump on that and say, not so much about the audience, but what an interesting experience it was for us playing doing that performance in November. And one of the things that I remember most vividly about that, because that was the first time that we got to play on a stage with other artists since last March, and it was a very unique and compelling experience to that first rehearsal that we had. And we made a sound, and it was in a beautiful concert hall, and to have the sound of a concert hall coming from my instrument, and then also having the dancers walk on stage and do all of their movement. And yeah, it was just a really special energy. So something that we hope to get back to really, really soon. Really soon. Okay, I'm gonna answer one more question here before I pass it off to one of my bandmates. So Kathy asks, what are the wood blocks that have a raised piece in the middle? And actually, I might ask there we go. Actually, I have one right next to me. Imagine that. So, Kathy, that's a really great question. And these are actually, they are just normal wood blocks, and they sound exactly like a wood block. These particular ones, these are made by Pearl drums. And they have this little raise right here. And the reason that they design it like that is that so you could play it with sticks. If you ever played a wood block with sticks, you'll notice that the sound can be sort of thin. It's better when you play it with some type of mallet. But these, with this little raise right here, for some reason that just sort of changes something about the design and allows you to play it with sticks, which can be more versatile depending on the music and the repertoire that you're playing. So anyway, again, I just wanted to say to everybody, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Don't forget, please, to consider what you would have paid to come to a concert like this, and please make a donation in that amount to thirdcoastpercussion.com/donate. And I'm going to pass it off to my colleague here, Sean.
Thank you, Peter. Thanks for joining us tonight, everyone. If you are just tuning in now and you're enjoying the Q&A, but you have no idea what we're talking about, you can access the performance that we're talking about for the next few days, and there will be a link, I believe, in the description below. I'm sure it'll be up for a few days. Tell your friends. We'd love for as many people to see it and enjoy it as possible. So on to some more questions from some young viewers. From a 6-year-old fan, how do you know which instrument to play next? Do you write it all down in your music? Yes. That is exactly how we know which instrument to play next. And some groups make decisions like that in the moment, but we plan everything out. There's, I think, maybe only 1 or 2 moments in the show where a few of us get to choose exactly which instruments to play. One of them is during one of the Jlin pieces. There's a moment where I get to go a little crazy and hit as many things as I can. So I get to choose in the moment, but otherwise, every single note, every single mallet strike that we do is all written out and notated in our music. From another young fan here in Chicago, Xavier, he asked, why did those dancers freeze for so long in the middle of the performance? And believe it or not, that's actually quite hard to do, to remain on stage perfectly still. And I'm not sure if anybody caught that, but there was a moment where the 2 amazing movement artists, Ron and Quentin, were facing each other perfectly still for an entire song. Just try to stay perfectly still while I answer the next question, and you'll know how hard it is to hold your body perfectly still. So they were doing that for dramatic effect, so that everything felt like the air was sucked out of the room. Let's see, a question about how much, Amy asks, how much of the dance is choreographed and how much is improvised? And we contacted the movement artists themselves. So this response is actually from Quentin, one of the artists, who says, I feel like there are certain points throughout the story of the piece, that require markers, but everything else as far as the movement and flow of the body is more freestyle for me. So essentially, the choreographers gave the story and outlines, so certain places to hit, certain markers, and then certain locations on the stage to be at very specific times, and there's a mix. There's certainly a point, and I'll speak for myself now, having seen Ron and Quentin perform this show. Some things are exactly the same every single time, and they're timed perfectly with some of the musical gestures that we're making. For instance, in the last really exciting piece called Embryo by Jlin, I play 3 big hits, boom, 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 and Ron does this gesture, and I get nervous because if I screw up, his movements won't make as much sense. We have to be right in time with each other. So there's definitely a mixture between choreographed, definite movements and some things where they can take some liberties and do some freestyling. And then I'll answer one more and maybe turn it over to Dave to answer the last few questions. This question is from Katie. She says, have you always incorporated dance in your shows, or is this a new addition? And actually, we love performing with dancers and movement artists. We've done it a lot now, actually, in various different styles. Actually, more than once this season, this past season, and we made this friendship and collaboration with movement art is through our dear friends here in Chicago, Hubbard Street Dance. We did a full-length evening program with that dance company, and Lil Buck and John Boogz, the founders and artistic directors of Movement Art Is, were brought in as choreographers for that project, and that's when we first met them. and a little seed was planted for the future of this collaboration on Metamorphosis. So, and so many other dance companies as well, ranging from students that we've collaborated with at Denison University, where we're the ensemble in residence, up to other professional dance companies such as Shankar Dance and others. So let's see. I think I will pass it off to David at this point, and he can field the rest of the questions. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks again for joining us. We must be near the end because I'm the last guy in the band answering questions. So thanks so much for joining us for the performance. If you happen to miss the performance, as Sean mentioned, if you just go in the description below the video you're watching right now, there's a link to watch the performance that we would have done tonight at Carnegie Hall if it were safe to do so. But we instead were very happy to stream for all of you to see. So we've got a couple more questions from viewers. If you have more, we still have time. This is maybe maybe I'll start with the easier one and end with the harder one. Eric S. asked, can you talk about the process of arranging the Philip Glass pieces or other pieces in general? So there were a couple of Philip Glass pieces on the program tonight. And they were originally pieces that were originally written first for piano, and then adapted by an amazing Brazilian group called Oakachi for their instruments, which are all custom instruments, some homemade or sort of DIY wind instruments and percussion instruments. That's how we came to know these pieces of music originally. And then we took the musical material and sort of arranged the arrangement to fit on our collection of percussion instruments. And it's a really fun process. All of us in the group are composers, so all of us have written for percussion. We've all thought about the sounds that we like, how to use those sounds in ways that we like. And arranging a piece that's already written, in this case, written for piano, but now we're going to play it on percussion instruments, brings up really cool challenges. But it also, in some ways, makes the process a little bit easier. You're not starting from scratch. You've already got great musical material, notes, rhythms, harmonies, and you're just deciding how to sort of take the piece of music as it is right now and have it exist in another format that works well in a different way. So Sean, for instance, took the lead on arranging Amazon River. That was the piece that Quentin soloed during. And I'm going to kind of speak for you a little bit, Sean, but Sean decided to start with the really highest pitched percussion instruments and the highest notes on the percussion instruments we were playing, and then really slowly throughout the course of the whole arrangement, go from that really highest pitch sound that we can make down to the really lowest, warmest sounds that we can make. So that's a really cool decision. And if Sean was just writing a piece of music from scratch, he could have made that same decision, but he just sort of applied that decision to this music that already existed. So as you can see, it's a creative process, and it's a lot of fun. And it's very similar in some ways to writing a piece of music from scratch, but it just has these sort of interesting differences as well. So I think here's two more questions that I think we'll answer before we call it a night and drink the rest of that bottle of champagne. Katie asked, what have been some of the challenging and rewarding outcomes of the pandemic? Obviously, so much is challenging for performing artists now. There's a conference going on right now. Some of you watching are part of this conference. It's called APAP. What does it stand for? It just changed. Association of Performing Arts. It used to be presenters. Now it's people, I think. I'm going to get kicked out for not knowing. Oh, God. All right. Anyone from APAP, just cut the feed for a second because I swear I know what it is. I'm just nervous and I can't remember. Anyway, there's this conference going on right now. Professionals. That's much better than people. I'm glad I wasn't there during the brainstorming process. I would have really slowed things down. Okay, so there's this conference going on, and the people who are at the conference, it's a professional conference, so no matter what profession you're in, when you have a job, someone's got a conference for you, and everyone who does your similar job gets together and they talk about the job and what's tough and what's great and share ideas, and that's what happens during this conference. Performers, composers, especially the people who support those performers and composers, managers, artist managers, concert presenters and promoters, the people who hire artists to play concerts. They all come to this conference together, and they talk about issues in the field. So the conversations that were happening at this conference today were very interesting, because I don't think anyone has ever seen anything like what we're going through right now. 99% of performing arts organizations have had some cancellation to their events. I actually can't imagine that there's 1% who hasn't had some sort of cancellation, but it's across the board. Whether you're the Chicago Symphony or you're Kendrick Lamar or you're Third Coast Percussion or you're, maybe first year out of college and playing gigs to support yourself, all of that is canceled. All of that live events are canceled. So there's financial implications to that, obviously. And there's also, spiritual implications. Our identities are wrapped up in performing for other people. And so we've all had to kind of reimagine the way that we can do that, reimagine who we are and what's important to us. And also just do the hard work of staying positive and finding ways to be creative, even when you can't share that creativity in real time with people in the same space. And I think we've all seen a lot of really exciting examples of that. For our part, what we've tried to do is get as good as we can at live streaming concerts, pre-recording concerts for others to share with the world, for us to share with the world, doing educational opportunities that we can share with the world. Is it an equal substitute for live performance? I don't think so. But for us, it's helped us to remain positive and to feel like we're doing what we do best. So I think that's a really long way of saying that the challenges are many. But the advantages are, that anytime you're challenged in this incredible way, you learn things about yourself. You become stronger. And you also learn what your limits are, and that's important too. So we're all going through that. We know that everyone watching us is going through that too, and maybe that's the thing that tonight strikes me the most, is that when we have been on tour around the world, we stand up and we talk about the music that we're playing and what it means to us. There are these things that tie all people together. But every time that we've stood in this room and talked into this camera since March, every single person watching is going through the same thing in some way or the other. And I think that's pretty incredible. It's not a silver lining by any means, but it's just an interesting thing to know that we are all in this together. And I think that's important to realize and important to carry with us as we all get those 2 shots in our arm and we eventually go back to playing concerts for each other and, I don't know, going to grocery stores without a mask on, all that sort of stuff, that we really are all in this together. Jonathan asked, anything exciting coming up for you that you can share? We do have another live stream concert coming up. Our next live stream concert is on January 20th. There's going to be a lot of things that are new in the United States of America on January 20th. And we're excited. We're excited about new things. We're a new music ensemble. So we're going to play a bunch of great new music on January 20th. That show is called In With the New. It's going to be a celebration of all things new and a new year and a new outlook as we all keep on keeping on. So thanks everyone so much for joining us tonight. It's been a really special night. It's so weird. We thought tonight would be special because it would have been the first time we played at Carnegie Hall, and don't get me wrong, that would have been cool too. But it's so amazing to be able to share this program and this evening with people all over the world via this platform. So thanks for sticking with us, and everyone out there, please stay healthy, stay safe, stay positive, stay creative, and hopefully we'll see you very soon.